Hey everybody, John with OWL. Today we're going to be talking about wheel hubs, and because we're talking about wheel hubs, we're actually going to do the installation of an OWL spacer. I think this is a beautiful spacer. I think it's the best in the industry, but I'm also biased. Installing these is dead simple, but there are a few things that you want to keep in mind as you do it to make sure you get a proper and a safe result. The first thing is this. When you take your wheel and tire off, I'm going to move you in a little closer. When you take your wheel and tire off, your hub may not look as clean as this display model. This hub, axle hub here, is probably going to be a little bit rusty. So before we get started, you can take some very fine grit sandpaper. Don't take a grinding wheel or anything like that. You just want to take the surface rust off. If you've got some rust, a wire brush, anything to get that off. And then what you can do is coat it with a little bit of anti-seize or a little bit of grease, mild grease. And what that's going to do is just keep that hub from rusting. We don't want to build up any rust on that hub. You can actually just apply it to the inside of this if you want. Now our spacer's aluminum, so this is not going to rust at all. So you're fine from that standpoint. Stock, you just removed lug bolts from your wheel. Now what we're going to do with the spacers, we're actually going to move on and kind of upgrade you to wheel studs. Wheel studs are a lot nicer because they allow you to put the wheel on and it stays on when you're putting on the lug nuts, which is really nice. You don't have to kind of use your feet or your knees to kind of prop the wheel into place. You've got the Sprinter is a 6x130 pattern, so you're going to have 6 of these studs. They come in individual baggies, 6 studs per wheel. They are not symmetrical. You've got an end that's got a little bit of a groove cut in it. This short end is the end that's going to go into the hub. And then on this end, you've also got an Allen key. That is a 7x32 standard Allen, if you want to grab the right tool. So the way this works is you're going to take this. You don't want these to ever come out, and you're not going to be able to apply the same amount of torque as you would like a lug nut. So these are going to be tightened. You're going to go until you bottom out and then turn them another quarter turn. I'll show you how that works. This is red Loctite. You're going to get a bag of this with your kit. This little tube should last for all of your lugs. You're going to have 6 per wheel. So a dab will do you. You don't have to go crazy with the red Loctite. The way these work is you're just going to screw these in lightly, assuming you've already taken care of any rust here. Just screw these in all the way down until they kind of bottom out. That's pretty easy. Let's assume that we've done 6 of those. Okay, so the top one is now in, so now I'm going to put this in. See how this is at basically, let's call it 3 o'clock. So that's bottomed out. We're going to do another quarter turn from 3 o'clock all the way down to 6 o'clock. So now that stud is going to be tight and that red Loctite's going to dry and it's going to be in there permanently. It's going to be nice for installing our spacers. You don't really have to wait for that to dry. It'll dry over time. Really easy. The spacer installation is dead simple. You just line it up with the holes and it'll have a nice positive feel. It's not going to be tight or hard to get on, but it's going to have that nice machined feel. It's going to sit right on there. Once you've got the 20 millimeter spacer in place, you've got all 6 of your studs in and red Loctited. You're ready for your wheel. I'm going to grab a wheel here off the shelf. This happens to be a black Rhino, and so when you put this wheel on, it will now slide over not just the hub-centric spacer that we have, but it's going to slide over the wheel studs, and that's what I mean about not having to hold the wheel in place while you tighten it down. The other important thing to note is these lug nuts, which will replace the lug bolts that you had. Some people tell you to put anti-seize in them. Some people say that's the worst idea. I'm not going to take a side on that. You can do your own research and decide if you want to put anti-seize on your lug nuts or not. But these are cone shaped, so you see how this, it's kind of hard to tell if I move it over here. See how it's kind of a flat, it looks like a cone, hence the name. You've also got a dome shape. The factory lug bolts are domed, they're curved on top. So if you're going to use the spacers and reinstall factory wheels, you're going to want to get different lug nuts. These are, what are they? M14 by 1.5 if you want to look for them like on Amazon or something. But if you have aftermarket wheels, we went with a cone style. That's what fits 99.9% of all aftermarket wheels. So if you are swapping out your wheels or you have aftermarket wheels with your spacers, these are the ones that you're going to want. It's only if you're maintaining the factory wheels that you might want to consider getting a domed lug bolt. So this very simply screws on. And in my effort to always be over prepared, I have forgot to look up what the latest torque spec is on Mercedes lug nuts. I believe it's like 120 foot-pounds or 130. It's pretty stout. I will put that at the bottom of the screen right here through the magic of video editing. So that I get it right, I'll talk to my installers, because nowadays I don't do much installing myself. So I will get the actual torque spec for that, but it's dead simple. And then the standard for anyone that ever puts on a wheel, you're going to want to tighten these down in a star pattern. So for anyone that has never done a star pattern before, you do not want to go in a circle, tighten, 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 tighten. That's what you don't want to do. You want to do a star. So you tighten this one, and because it's a 6 lug, you can go directly to the one opposite it, tighten that, and then jump up to one that was directly to the right or left of the one you tightened, and then the one directly opposite that, and you ping pong around. And what that does is it allows the wheel, instead of, if you tighten them in a circle, the wheel can get really tight on one side and be a little bit off on the other. By bouncing around, you're going to make sure that you seat that wheel as flat as possible. 6 minutes of explanation for something is actually quite easy. I just want to make sure we go over the safety aspects of it. Also, check the lugs after you drive for a little while. I know this sounds silly, but I've had people that have had stuff loosen up and so on, not because of our spacers, just being in the automotive world for a while. So if you drive for a while, just keep a 19 millimeter. You should always have it in your van anyway, to tighten those down periodically and just check them. It's just good safety. That is installing the wheel spacer from Owl Vans. If you want to see more about the wheel spacer, we have videos on our channel that talk about why we think our wheel spacer is the best and why we designed it that way. We also have a lot of other YouTube videos that are informational about your van. So if you want to check those out, you can follow our YouTube channel. And if you like and subscribe, that helps other people find us. Thanks again.